Welcome to Pods and Pies. Today's episode brought to you by
Little Caesars Pizza. We do a pizza every time, and we're waiting for one of these little pizza places just
we're
to
just
say,
waiting.
We're going to give you free pizza since you mentioned our name, but no, they don't.
Not
do
yet.
Not yet.
Not yet.
We're not popular enough yet.
No, we're not.
So we have a half veggie.
Nice.
So are you vegetarian?
No, but I'm trying to, behave myself. So
Okay, so
the vegetable scene helps.
we'll get a few vegetables on our fat-free pizza here.
Yeah,
That's right.
Fat-free, calorie-free, everything free.
Yeah, Little
Exactly.
Caesars is fat-free, calorie-free.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
You don't have to work out extra when you have a whole pizza, which I've done before.
There you go.
Yeah.
Oh, geez. That's a lot.
So we have Connie Washington on today, which that's a badass name. Like every time I hear it, I'm
actually
like,
is a badass name.
that's a cool name. That's a cool name. So Progressive Leasing. Tell us about yourself, where you grew up.
Sure.
And
all
by
that.
the way, the pizza is meant to, as much as you can, take a bite. I know
Here
you're going
and
to be
there.
talking the whole time.
Yeah.
Got it.
But that's the
we
purpose.
we kind of nibble and munch, and actually one podcast I ate a whole pizza and didn't realize it, and I had like crust just piled up.
Till after the
But
fact.
anyway, just it's kind of the point to
You got it.
kind of do your best and take some bites here and there, but no pressure.
Sounds good. Yeah, I am a born and bred Utahn. Grew up down on the west side, so went to West High back in the day, and yeah, Utah's home. I've left a time or two, but I always end up coming back because this is my comfort zone. This is where I enjoy being,
Yeah.
So
And
Where
your family's
else?
still here?
Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry.
Yeah.
You got a lot of family still
yeah,
here.
we still have a lot of family here. I have 4 adult children, and interestingly, 3 of them have taken off to California. They wanted to explore the rest of the world. We raised them in Philadelphia area. That's where we lived for about 8 years. So they kind of grew up there, and then we decided to head back here in 2004, and they came along. I have twins, and they had just graduated high school, and the other 2 were in middle school. So a little bit of a culture shock coming from back east, back to
geez.
Utah.
I bet.
But yeah, it was good. And then a couple of them went to college. 2 of them decided they wanted to do the work thing, and then a son and a daughter went up to the U. Son played football for a couple of years before
Awesome.
his shoulders fell apart on him. Didn't realize that he had some shoulder issues till one thing when you're hitting folks in high school, another thing when you're hitting folks in college.
Yeah, that level. It steps
What
up.
years was he playing?
He was there 2004 to 2009, but only played for a
Okay.
couple of years before he decided he needed to hang up his cleats and do something else. But they both got their degrees. My daughter's a mental health therapist in California in high school.
Awesome.
And my son actually owns a clothing business that he just launched.
Oh,
So
wow.
What's it called? Let's give it a shout out.
Sugar Hill, LA. So
Sugar Hill,
Yeah.
L.A.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So-
What is it? Any meaning to that name?
no,
Sugar Hill,
no,
LA?
his thing.
Just his thing? Okay.
Yeah. And then one other son took off there about 2 years ago, and he works for a self-driving car company. And then another one is here. He's a stockbroker here, so
Okay.
he's the one that gave me
wow.
the 3 grandkids. So thankfully they're here.
Yeah.
So you have 3 grandkids only from the son, one son. Okay.
Yeah.
So 1 here,
Yeah.
3 grandkids here, 3 other kids.
Yep.
And they're all in California?
Yep. The other
Okay.
3 are. And
Are they
then-
close to each other?
Oh, Newport and they're all in Orange County, Newport and Huntington.
Okay.
So, well, actually, my daughter's just moving to LA, so I can't keep up with them.
Yeah.
And then I've been married 36 years, so I've got a hubby that we're
my.
still. So he and I are holding down the fort as
Yeah.
empty nesters here.
And where is he from?
He was born in England, actually. His dad was Air Force and his mom's British. So they came here in the late 70s and retired here, and then he and I met in college up in Weber State, and so
That's cool.
that's a
And
little
you
bit
are-
of that world.
Yeah. 30, how many?
Yeah,
36 years?
Yeah.
Congratulations.
37 in September.
Holy
so
smokes.
we were babies when we got married.
We were
and-
making a comment before the podcast that she didn't look a day over 37.
Yeah.
So that
Got
blows
married
my
away,
mind.
Yeah. I would have never guessed that you have 4 grown children, 3 grandkids.
Yeah. Life, exciting life, fun. It's
You mentioned the Peloton. It's the Peloton.
It's the Peloton. I got a Peloton
Keeps
about
you
a
young.
year and a half ago, and I'm a little bit addicted. So
Oh, that's
I
awesome.
ride that thing just about every day, and love it. Love it. I'm an athlete at heart from running in high school and college. So my competitive nature, it's a great thing for
Oh, yeah.
to compete, and you can get on that leaderboard and kill yourself chasing other people. And
Yeah, so when you hop on, do you just, is it pre-recorded? Sometimes is it pre-recorded, or can you go like live
both.
classes? So you can do both.
You can do on demand or live.
Yeah.
So are you live with other people so you can do you
And
see
then,
them?
You can.
Okay.
I have a bunch of people I follow, about 700 people that I follow them, they follow me. So I can hit their name, click on their little icon, and the camera will show up. But people,
That's cool.
they don't really
They'll
love
block
that
their camera a little bit?
because you're kind of like not at your best
Yeah,
self.
you might
when
wake up at
you're-
like 5 and you got the sleepies.
and you're sweating like a.
Yeah.
When you work out
that-
from home, you don't
Wow.
have to get ready at all.
No.
right? Yeah.
Just throw on the clothes, head down to the basement, get the water, and jump on the bike.
Love it.
Yeah.
So does your husband work?
He does. He is the executive director of the health program at the Utah State Prison. So
Okay.
right around the corner here.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Awesome.
so yeah, both of us still doing the, getting up every day and hitting the grind, but
Yeah.
it's a good grind. So
Yeah, absolutely.
Can't say that. Can't
Absolutely.
complain.
And I
Very
imagine
thankful.
he doesn't work from home
No, occasionally, but
occasionally.
Yeah.
With the
so,
COVID.
Yeah.
That's
the
got to be
COVID.
an interesting, probably discussions they had, trying to figure out how to handle
Yeah.
the prison.
It's fascinating because every organization has to navigate this differently based on what they do and how they do it,
Yeah.
So schools and, my daughter being a counselor in a high school,
Oh, yeah.
they've already made the call, I think, that they'll be working from home and, the kids will be at home, I think, in California. So
Yeah.
navigating that. So it's just a completely different world, kind of bizarre, but what do you do?
Yeah.
It is our new normal.
You
This
pivot
is our new normal.
and make it work, right?
You do, exactly.
So where else? So born in Utah, you said Philly for a little bit. Where else have you? Anywhere else
We
that
lived
you've
in
lived?
Oklahoma. Yeah, when
Okay,
right
what
out
part?
of college, Lawton, Fort Sill.
Lot?
Not a lot happening in Oklahoma.
Where's that close to? Which?
It was an Army base. My husband in college, he went into ROTC, so he got
Okay.
commissioned and, join the Army and see the world. So we were like, okay, we want to go to
Go to
Arizona,
Oklahoma.
California, or somewhere else. And they were like, okay, you can go to Oklahoma.
You go
And we're
to.
like, okay.
Okay.
One active duty tour, and we're going back home.
We're-
We did the National Guard, so we're good. Yeah.
Awesome.
And that's close to what big city or any?
About an hour and a half from Oklahoma City.
Okay.
So yeah, not a whole lot happening in Oklahoma these days.
Yeah,
or
I
back then.
have family in Noble.
Yeah.
And we've been out there. It's kind of like you get out there and you're like,
Okay, there's no mountains, and they're like,
Let's-
"Well, there's a mountain." And
Yeah.
it's like,
Well, they
that's
call
a hill.
no,
things
that's a
mountains.
yeah,
yeah.
that's a hill.
That's a hill.
That's a dirt hill.
bump.
Yeah, if you can
Yeah.
walk up it in 30 minutes, that's a hill. But
Yeah.
okay, call it what you need to call it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's good.
Awesome. So let's talk your career path.
Yeah.
Where
Yeah.
did you start out after college? Like, how did you get into HR?
Good
Walk
question.
us through that.
Wasn't
But
in-
first,
oh,
take a bite of pizza.
okay.
I feel like you haven't had a bite yet. It's just
Yeah,
sitting
yeah.
there.
Danny and I
It's
can talk.
lunchtime.
We
What?
can talk for hours.
Need some sustenance. There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Career path. So I got into HR accidentally. I was home with my children for the first 6 years or so, and then when they all went to school, I decided to see what was happening out there, and I majored in fashion merchandising initially when I went to college back in the day because that sounded so fun. And I was on track scholarship, and I really wanted to do physical education, but I thought that's what all the jocks do. So I'm going to do fashion merchandising instead. So got my associate's degree, and then because I left college a year early because my husband, his Army career started. So had some kids, and then decided, okay, let's see what we can do. So I saw an ad in the newspaper for a local Catholic college in downtown Philadelphia, Chestnut Hill College, and they needed a payroll administrator. So I interviewed with zero background in payroll or anything. I'm like, I know people get paid. I think that's what payroll does.
Right.
But the leader that I interviewed with she was the controller, and she said, and I talked to her about organizational skills, and I said, I think that's what I can bring because I'm pretty organized. And she was like, I'm so disorganized. I need that. Like, you're hired. So
Hired
that's
on the spot. Boom, we need you.
Day later.
Okay.
So first day, we were doing our very first payroll, and I had zero idea. With a brand new vendor, they had just started working with ADP. Just had no idea what I was doing. But organized things pretty well. And then because they didn't have HR, payroll and HR are often a pretty good fit, so they said, do you want to learn HR? And I thought, well, sure, that'd be fun. And so I started attending some consortiums and getting some familiarity with HR. And it was a little intimidating when you have no experience and you're hearing all these legal terms and lawsuits and this and that. But worked for them for about a year and a half, and then I actually went to work for ADP. They were,
really? Okay.
they were a client, so I was in their customer service world. So that gave me some really good exposure to the depths of payroll. And then that was in 2001, or 2000, excuse me, 2001, right around the time of 9/11. I was working for ADP, and then they had to, as a result of that, I mean, they did phenomenal things during that time. It was really interesting to see a company in crisis and how they responded. And, you know, we were customer service, we're on the phones doing our thing. We hear about planes crashing into buildings, and I was in Philadelphia, so just an hour and a half from New York.
Yeah.
Started hearing what was happening, and, you know, they had to make decisions at that time. Are they going to fund payrolls of companies that might have just disappeared? But they did they did what they needed to do to make sure that those people were taken care of. So it was great learning to work for them. And then a company that was an ADP client recruited me, and I went to work for them. It was a long-term care organization in Philadelphia area. So went to there doing payroll and HR again, and worked for them for about 3 years. Got my certification, and, you know, really got into, knew that HR was what that's my thing. And then we moved back here. Decided it time to come back here.
And then what year did you kind of move back here?
2004. So
2004.
yeah, brought the fam. We landed in Layton because that was in between where my husband's parents lived and my dad lived at the time. So landed in Layton. Kids went up to Northridge, and the others started figuring out careers. And I worked for a couple of different companies. A manufacturing company. It was called DFG, but they are actually they manufactured for Smith and Scott skiwear.
Oh, okay.
So I worked for them for a few years. Which is fascinating. I mean, manufacturing's fascinating anyway, but to work for a company, it was interesting because the way they were set up, on one side of the warehouse they manufactured Smith, on one they did Scott, and then eventually Smith decided to do their own thing, so I went to work for them for a couple of years, which was really, really cool to work for such a fun company that was doing so many neat things.
Like
And
Smith
they're not a
Optics,
local
like.
company.
Smith Optics.
Okay, yeah.
Because they opened up down in Freeport Center. They built a manufacturing facility there, and Scott moved out to the Business Depot in Ogden, and Smith was there in Clearfield.
Yeah.
And so that was neat because that was a field I wasn't familiar with, and that's what's so cool about HR. You can learn so much. I did healthcare, so dealt with individuals that were on ventilators and working for a Catholic college downtown, Philadelphia. So that was a fascinating dynamic.
Yeah.
Then manufacturing, watching them make goggles and make helmets and seeing how that process works. And, and then after I worked for them, I went to work for a mattress company, but that was in 2007 as the economy was having some difficulties, so worked for them for about a year.
A little bit of difficulty, right?
and that company, I was only there for a year, and they tried to survive, but they just couldn't. But it was fascinating, and I really learned about the employee experience because I had gone to Hawaii on a 25-year anniversary trip with my husband and his family. So I took the payroll with me because I'm a dedicated person. I'm like, I'm going to do payroll. They're like, oh, you're leaving. I said, I'll take it with me. I can pop on. So I'm getting ready to do the payroll. My boss calls me. She's like, so you don't have to bother. You have to do the payroll. I'm like, cool. Somebody else doing it? She's like, no, we're out of business. She said, we closed down. It was Spring Air at the time.
Spring Air?
Spring Air Mattress Company.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So she says, we closed the doors. We closed. And so they used to close the factory now and then if they didn't have enough beds to make. So I was like, I can still do it. She's like, no, we're closed. The doors are locked. We're out of business. And I supported 4 plants. And I had wondered, because people were calling me, and I'm in Hawaii, different time zone, and people had been calling me, asking me, messages would break up, but one was like, I need them to have my 401k. And they had already, I didn't realize they had gone to the building. The sign was on the door. Didn't tell me, because I'm only HR, so why should HR know they're
And does that also mean that your job was no longer?
Yes, because she said, and by the way, you don't get your vacation pay, so go have a Mai Tai on the beach. And I was like,
enjoy the rest of your time away.
And it was day 1 of a 10-day vacation. So I was like, well, a Mai Tai would cost money, so I might bypass that, but okay. What do you do? I can't hop in the car and go job hunting because I'm in Hawaii. And so I learned that these things happen, but it's not the end of the world. Your life isn't over. I hopped on and filed for unemployment because I could do that while I was there.
Yeah.
And did the best to enjoy my vacation, knowing I'm coming back to extended vacation.
Right.
But I learned what an impact that has on people. So what they go through, often HRs, we're doing it to people,
Yeah.
but having it done to you is,
Yes.
it really was insightful and good for me to experience, so that I understand in the event I have to do that, have had to know what that feels like and know how to support those people the best you can, and to communicate to them that life isn't over and there's a light at the end of the tunnel, and it's not a train. It just may take some time. So yeah, I did that, was off for a little while, and then went to work for, what year are we in? I don't even know.
08? 09?
09. I went to work for ADP again.
Okay.
Doing as a consultant for their HR product. I started in sales because I said I was good friends with one of their sales guys, and I told him, I said, hey, I'm looking. He's like, we've got a sales position. I was like, I could totally do sales. How hard could that be? And yeah, I did it about a year and realized that sales is not my cup of tea. I'm not hungry enough. I mean, I'm hungry, but I'm like, they told me not to call him again. They're like, well, call him. I'm like, but they said don't call
but they
him
said
again.
no.
I want to bug him.
Right.
So I did that for about a year, and then I did HR consulting for them for another year or so.
Okay.
And then landed at a company called Alliance Health.
Alliance Health.
Yeah.
Ooh.
And I was there for about a year, helping them get purchased. And
Where
then
were they out of?
They were downtown when I worked for them, and then they were purchased by somebody else, and they moved to South Jordan, and then they closed.
They were a client of ours when they had to restructure and then end up closing.
Yeah.
And that was an interesting gig, just experience. I'll deviate a little bit, but they, just having, we're owed money, but, and then they paid us like the week before, kind of they did some internal things, and then they came after us for the money that they paid us already,
Yeah.
And they still owed us a little bit of money, but that was a good business experience to realize.
How that works.
I guess bankruptcy and some other things.
Yeah.
They can come get that.
Yeah.
I mean, they had totally legal right to come take the money they already paid, just to score things away, and it wasn't a bad thing for us. But Alliance Health, they were actually a good client.
Yeah.
I remember they had some churn. And,
Yeah.
Okay,
So worked for them, and then I went to work for Helix Education. They're downtown in Salt Lake.
Yep.
And worked for them for about 3 years. Great company. I started there in can't remember what month it was, but about a week and a half after I got there, my boss calls me and he's like, so we're going to be doing an acquisition, so we're going to increase by about 250. And I was like, I don't even know what we do here. So that was great learning, to come in and kind of learn with the organization, figure out the HR so we could onboard 250 folks from an acquisition in, about 5-6 weeks after starting. So worked for them, and it was a great experience. Got to travel around. And, higher education, it's just cool to get to see the impact on people's lives and really what that does. The effect and the trickle effect of the work that they do. So worked for them for about 3 years, and then landed at Progressive Leasing, and that's where I'm at now, and we're plugging along.
Yeah. And how many years have you been at Progressive?
A little over three.
Three.
Been heading out to Draper about every day for 3 years.
3 years.
Good company, and now here we are in COVID land and racial injustice and everything else that you could.
Crazy.
Earthquakes, throw that on there, just whatever.
The earthquake was
Just
a crazy
sprinkle
deal.
that on top of everything.
Just
there.
didn't seem like that could be happening while we're having a pandemic.
My theory was there was people drive and they move and they're active and outside, and all of a sudden everybody's inside, no one's on the roads, and Mother Earth said, what the hell is going on up there? And it's like, no, this doesn't make sense. I need to shake something. Something needs to happen. And that is exactly why we had the earthquake. The vibration of the earth. It's all science.
Okay, we need to wake you guys up and get back out here.
It
was crazy.
It was the most bizarre. I remember running up the stairs. I was on my bike and I'm riding it. And at a certain point, I thought, I'm not riding that hard. Why is the bike shaking? And then I'm like, the picture's shaking too. And I remember running up the stairs thinking, we can't have an earthquake. We have a pandemic. You can't have two bad things at once.
You can't have two.
And so I think that was 3 days into us working from home. So
Yeah.
that was bizarre. But, it's our life, and what do you do?
I know. And I remember, like, the pandemic, obviously people were at the grocery store buying up stuff and kind of running. There was a run on certain supplies. But when the earthquake hit, even when the pandemic kind of started, there were lines at the gas station down the street, almost around the corner, only from the earthquake, which was interesting. So is it kind of how certain things trigger
behaviors,
different behaviors? It was.
I didn't have a good food supply, and I tried to go to the store that day, and everything was gone. I was like, I might be in trouble because I didn't anticipate an earthquake. So what do you do?
It was crazy. The shelves just being out of stock
Gone.
and just
We've not
everything
seen
like
that.
no, ever.
No. And you can't, anywhere you went, you could go to different stores and it was nowhere.
And you don't want to like lump yourself into the hysteria a little bit, but you
Then
have
you
to.
start.
But you have to kind of take it serious. Like, honey, maybe we go get a huge bag of rice because maybe we got to eat rice and beans. I mean,
I'm just going to go on Amazon Prime and nothing
Oh,
is
yeah.
nothing is.
nothing
is
they're
there.
out. Yeah.
Everything's gone.
Yeah. So, but we're navigating it, aren't we? We have to. We don't have a choice.
Yeah, we're coming. I mean, we will survive.
Yes, we will.
We will be stronger.
Yes, we will.
We will.
More adaptable.
Things will be different, but in in a certain time, I mean, things will feel completely normal again, right?
It'll be the new normal.
Yeah.
Full.
Yeah,
That progressive.
I'm a senior director of HR. I work under the VP of HR, so we've got about probably 20-something people in our HR department total.
Really?
With
Okay.
recruiters and everything. And
Awesome.
I oversee benefits and employee relations and compliance and support our folks in a lot of employee relations issues and just typical HR stuff.
Yeah.
Just
Okay.
trying to make sure folks feel like they're taken care of.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
And how much-
Just work from home and
Yeah.
it's been
Don't need a whole building anymore.
No, I know it's interesting. So
I know, same thing here. I mean, geez,
Yeah.
when this all happened, it was, we were humming along. It was just good, just great energy. And all of a sudden,
Shift.
about half of us come in now, and
Yeah.
it's still kind of sporadic. And it's like, oh, we just built the building and all this, and now no one can enjoy it. But it's
yeah,
it's-
and who knows what and when things will go back to some semblance of normal. I mean, we just don't know. So we just play it by ear and do the best we can to support folks. And I think all HR people are having the same experience of figuring out what to do with all of the dynamics that we've been confronted with in the last 6 months. To keep the business moving, and HR is a big part of that. We're big players in that arena of navigating these people issues that come up.
Is it safe to say that HR is kind of behind creating a culture?
Oh yeah.
So what, during all this, everybody's at home, what are you guys doing to keep the culture that you did have when everybody was in office? Like, how are you guys keeping that culture alive to keep employees engaged and happy? And
It really relies. We rely more on the managers, the direct leaders, to do that more because we don't get those opportunities to gather and to have those face-to-face, interactions like we used to have. So really, a lot of it falls on their manager and them staying engaged. And like with my team, we do a daily stand-up, 15 minutes, just to see each other's face, and I'll ask periodically, do we still need this? And they're like, yes, please don't, not, because I wonder, I don't want to waste their time. They're already busy, but they just like to connect with each other every day to see the team that they used to sit by and go to lunch with and go to breaks with and do all those things with that they don't do anymore. So we're just trying to figure out ways to help keep people connected during this time where we're all separate.
Yeah. What do you miss most?
Just being with our people and the
Being with
drive-bys.
people.
You stop by somebody's office, have a quick, now it's intentional on a Zoom. You have to be intentional and create a meeting, and it's not that same experience. And we just are everything's taken a little bit longer to do, and it's just a different dynamic. But we just have to make sure that our people know that they still matter, and that they're important, and what can we do to support them in any way, shape, or form possible.
Yeah.
Can I ask a question? Danny, is that okay?
No.
Is that permission?
Yeah, go ahead.
No, I just want
I was
with all
like,
the
wow,
HR.
he's serious.
I'm just, no. With all the, with everything that you deal with, I'm just kind of curious, what is one of the biggest challenges that you face, not in terms of the landscape that we're dealing with COVID, but in a normal company setting, I don't know, I'm just kind of curious, what do you think would be one of the biggest challenges as your position, or just in HR in general, that you guys just face on a regular basis?
I don't know I think it's just making sure that from an HR perspective that our people at whatever level they are in the organization feel supported and know they matter to the organization and what that means to them. What matters to me may not matter to you, and what matters to you may not matter to you. So understanding what matters to the masses and endeavoring to meet those needs, whether it's security with their benefits, whether it's support with an EAP program because they're having a challenge. The workplace issues that people are dealing with show up at work. So we've got to be prepared to help people navigate things that they're dealing with, because you don't get to check things at the door and then you walk into work and then you pick it back up. Things that people are going through show up at work, and we need to help them navigate them because it can affect things. So what can we do to proactively and sometimes reactively support people so they can keep doing what they were hired to do?
Yeah, and do you notice if you don't have your finger on that pulse or really help in that regard, does that also contribute to turnover? I mean, people
it
are like,
can.
geez, I don't feel like they even care, or whatever they might say.
Yeah, it can.
It would help. Well, it helps with performance, or if you're not doing that, then the performance probably isn't great, but performance and also just retention, right?
Yeah, because we're all humans having a human experience, and I think that is what we all, in every aspect of an organization, have to remember, that our companies are made up of human beings with lives and with problems and with issues and with baggage. And, I often use the analogy that we're all carrying baggage through life. It's a matter of how you manage it. Some people can pack that so neatly with tissue paper and it's perfect and you close the suitcase and zip it. And others throw it in, try to get it zipped up and head on in, and sometimes it pops out and you got to manage that baggage. But we've all got it, so we no sense pretending we don't. Just how can we help people navigate it in the workplace?
So how does a team, right? You have a 20 person team, HR team. How do 20 people keep a pulse on, a 1,500 life company?
Yeah.
Like, what are you guys doing to say, reaching out? How do we know that John Doe is struggling and we need to have a conversation to see how we can help him?
You just have to reach out and say, hey, let us know. I mean, always let us know. Always let us know.
Well, keeping communications, we do organizational-wide communications, and keeping in contact with our managers and our leaders, getting a pulse of what they're experiencing, and then giving them the tools that they need to navigate some of the things. And I think they're pretty comfortable reaching out to us for help. And so, whatever level, whatever issue, they have the means to get a hold of us via email, Slack, whatever, so that we can help address whatever they might be dealing with. But really making sure those leaders, you're connected with those leaders who have the interactions with folks and can enlighten us on what might be happening.
Would you like to take another bite of pizza?
No, I'm good. But thank you.
Okay. Just want to make sure.
Yes, that's very
Make sure
kind
you're
of you.
not hungry over there.
I'm not going to wither away.
I'm done eating, and you've taken like one bite.
So, are you pretty active on LinkedIn?
I haven't been before about 6 weeks ago, when the situation with Floyd happened.
Yes.
Yes,
So since then on LinkedIn, you've been much more.
Yeah.
Just at least engaged or online, looking at certain things. But before that, LinkedIn wasn't necessarily something.
No, I would pop in now and then and see what was going on, get some requests every now and then.
So
but
this leads to two questions. First question is, with your position, your title, and LinkedIn, have you, how often are you solicited, or, you get emails and, just people trying to connect? That's kind of the first question. Just kind of curious what you feel, how you feel as an HR director, LinkedIn is to you. I know you weren't on it very much. And then the second one is, based off of what you said, is give us some perspective and insight of what your experience was since you've now been on for the last 6 weeks.
I think, once a week or so I would get an invite to connect with someone. No real patterns, just different people, some HR, some people that, I got a couple of master's degrees at Western Governors a few years ago. So a lot of people there will reach out. So
Yeah.
Did you
just
say
some
a
random
couple?
things. I did.
A couple?
In 2016, I got my master's in management and leadership, and then 2018, the MBA. So.
That was so casual. Like, I got a couple masters. Like,
well,
geez,
I mean, I needed
awesome.
to challenge
you're
myself.
37 years old and with
Yeah,
two MBAs.
there you go.
Okay,
there
that's
you
great.
go. I
Yeah.
like that.
Holy
37.
smokes.
So yeah, I'd get some connections now and then. I'd read articles, pop in, but
But not like bombarded from
No.
insurance or
No, not
really.
really.
I mean, like HR softwares and
No.
stuff like that. So that's not that you weren't really a target of a lot of
no,
that.
not a lot of it. And then when all of the things happened about 6 weeks ago, and that kind of triggered something in my brain
Yeah.
and my heart, and I didn't really have an outlet, and I don't know that I really needed one, but for some reason I thought, I'm going to put this out there because I think people need to understand, and if they're bothered, I'm sorry about that, but I think people need to understand our experience at this time, so I'm going to say it, and it kind of gave me an outlet and gave me an opportunity to hopefully enlighten some people
And enlighten them with your
insight,
insight,
and my
your
what it meant to
experiences.
me.
Yeah,
As a mother of three black men and a black daughter, and with a black husband, and watching that happen to him, that brutal situation happen to him, I knew that it could be somebody in my family that could happen to, and I couldn't be quiet about that, and so I felt like I needed to kind of give a little bit of insight into what we're experiencing and what that meant.
And did you just kind of do some videos, or you just type
No,
up?
just typed up some things,
some write-ups.
Yep, just and
What kind of response did you?
more so than I anticipated. I didn't,
wow.
I was just kind of a way for me to vent a little bit about what's happening, and got some good feedback, and I think it was enlightening for folks. I think that was really the responses were, I didn't realize, thanks for sharing your experience, because it is vulnerable to do that, but I felt like people just need to understand, and that I think it's Franklin Covey, that seek first to understand. I think we've not done that the way that we could with people and their experiences in their lives, and I don't know what you've been through in your life until you tell me. If we're from a different, you played basketball, so that you've got an experience with that, and I talk to you and you tell me about that. Oh, I didn't realize you were that position. Oh, well, I share a little bit of the experiences, good and bad, that I've had, and that will hopefully enlighten people and help them see where they may need to do a shift in their thinking about people.
Absolutely.
So.
Well, I mean, on top of that, geez, you grew up here, but you've spent, your kids didn't necessarily all grew up here, right?
Right.
And you were in different areas that aren't Utah.
Yeah.
That aren't, because Utah is a completely different,
Yeah.
Demographic and really situation. But I wonder too if I can only imagine by you doing that, people that knew you and close to you, those are the people that were affected probably by you more than just maybe people you didn't know. Because the thing, when they know you and they're like, oh my gosh, I had no idea.
Yeah.
Or I didn't know that this, maybe you went into detail.
Yeah.
But that's pretty awesome. That's cool.
And I had a lot of people reach out to talk about some of the things and to say, I know, what can I do? What can I do? I need to do something. And I don't have all the answers. That's a lot of, I realized going through that there's a lot of pressure, because I can't speak for the entire black community.
Yeah.
I can speak to my experience. So I think people have to determine in their hearts what they're willing to do, and then do the research to see. There's lots of avenues. I'm sure more things are available now than were 8 weeks ago.
Absolutely.
So I think people can do things if they want to. Because on LinkedIn now there's lots of information and lots of guidance on what you can do if you want to help and to shift your thinking and to change the landscape of our country.
So how do you approach that? Like, how do you have a conversation about race? What are your tips and pointer? Like, if we want to get into this right now, which I would love to, how do we have that conversation?
I think you ask the questions. I mean, I think you have to know that you're in a safe environment and know your audience, because everybody is not open to sharing their experience. Everybody's not going to be okay having a dialogue about it. And angry and other things. So I think you have to know who you're talking to and what they're willing to share, and understand the delicacy of the situation, that this is people's lives and they've had pain around this. So understanding that the information you hear and you're privy to is a privilege, because, you know, if I were to ask you about difficult things you've been through in your life, difficult, you know, situations that caused you pain, you know, how do you, it's hard sometimes, and sometimes you're like, yeah, I'm not willing to talk about that. So I think you have to understand where people are coming from, and some may be open and say, yeah, let's talk, and others may be like, yeah, you don't get a right to know that, so sorry. And you have to be okay with that, because it's everybody's experience is different, and where they're coming from on this, it's different. So I think just respecting the fact that this is very personal, and honoring the opportunity that you have to talk to somebody about something like this. Yeah.
Has there been any changes or anything that you have implemented as far as diversity and within the culture at Progressive?
Yeah, we're definitely doing some things. We already had some things in the workings. This just kind of expedited things. But yeah, we definitely have made some commitments to do some, of quite a few things. We're building, and that's the challenge right now, is there's a sense of urgency, so people are a little bit panicked, like, but you have to be thoughtful and, take the time to do it right, because it can either go well or it can not go well based on how you approach it. So as organizations are beefing up their diversity or starting diversity and inclusion and belonging or whatever they call it, they have to be, mindful that this affects people in multiple ways. There are people that are super excited this is happening, and there are people that are not excited this is happening. So you're navigating a lot of different emotions and situations. Everybody's not okay with the diversity and inclusion and belonging efforts in organizations, and there's people that are threatened. And I don't know where everybody's coming from, but it's a shift. So you've got to, anticipate people that think, why do you get a special group? Why do you, with those kind of comments, as well as the people that have been underrepresented, and just kind of waiting to see if this is going to be a sustained, or is this just a response to a situation? So.
Yeah, and let's all hope that it's not a quick response, that it's a fad. It's a change. It needs to be a change. Yeah. And I'm curious, you with growing up here and now here, what is your opinion, in general, of the state of Utah? I mean, and not even the whole state, more maybe this valley, Salt Lake Valley, Utah County, these type of counties. Is this just, do you feel that we're behind? I mean, in terms of open-mindedness, I mean, in the general population, right? I mean, I know there's always outliers, but it just, I felt that way personally, that, I mean, yeah, there's some amazing people here, but it does, just because of the culture, it just seems a little, I don't know the right word I'm looking for. Not difficult or behind. Maybe that's not the right word. It just seems maybe not a willingness. I don't know if there's a word you can think of with Utah, how you've seen it handled here.
Yeah, I mean, Utah is extremely, homogenized, so you don't see a lot of diversity. I don't know that there's been a lot of intention around increasing it. I mean, there's more than, when I was growing up, there were a lot less, people of color than there are now. So we're making strides. They're still pretty small, but we're still moving. We have the Utah Black Chamber right now that James Jackson he started that a few years back, maybe 5 years, I'm not positive, but he's doing a lot of things to kind of develop partnerships and wake people up to the experience, to what we're experiencing. And we've got a lot to offer here. We've got the Silicon Slopes. It's pretty, and our growth and the beauty.
Yes.
But how do you appeal to you know, a 25-year-old guy in Washington, D.C.
Yeah.
to get him to come to Utah.
Yes, exactly.
And you might get him to come, but then is he going to stay once he starts to experience the day-to-day and he goes to the grocery store and sees nobody
I can relate to for the most part. You know,
yep.
That's tough.
I noticed that when I moved back from Pennsylvania, because there was, in the area we lived in the suburbs of Philadelphia, and there was just multiple, not even just black people, and there was Jewish, there was just so much diversity. And when we came, I remember going to the grocery store, and I walked in and then I walked around, and I was like, oh, wow, I'm the only one. And I hadn't had that experience for the last 8 years, so it brought me back to the fact that I don't see myself very often, I mean, around here. I mean, compared to a white person who, you know, you don't even think about it because it's just your experience. Like, yeah, we see ourselves everywhere we go. But for a black person, you don't see that. So, you know, you're thinking about that. And in jobs, you know, I used to apply for jobs and worry about my last name. I'm like, is that going to get me screened out? You know, maybe I can go by my maiden name because my maiden name was Kelly, pretty generic. So I'm like, that might get me the interview because I'm concerned. You know, but those are things you think about because there are biases out there, and you know, whether we like it or not, they exist. So we have to figure out, and that's where, you know, people need to ask themselves about those biases. Like we did an unconscious bias training, and the first question was, you know, do you think you're biased? And everybody's like, absolutely not. I'm not biased about anything. And by the end of the training, they're like, I guess I am. Yeah, I guess I am. We all have our bias.
The first answer is like, yeah, you are.
Yeah, we all have our biases, and we have to know that we have them, so when we're making critical decisions, they aren't a part of the mix, that we recognize the bias and say, oh wait, no, that's not an issue, let me look at it for this. So that's what people need to do, because we all have them. So don't pretend you don't, just figure out how to navigate those and recognize them and make sure that when you're making meaningful decisions, they aren't at the forefront of those decisions, and that you're giving people an open and equitable opportunity regardless of how you think about their skin color or their hair or their gender or their, you know, whatever differences there may be, that doesn't enter, so that they get the same experience that anybody else would get in whatever it is they're looking to do in their life.
Can I ask another question, Danny?
Yes, Brent, you may.
I see who's the talkative one of the group.
Well, I was curious. I had this conversation with a friend of mine. We went down a lot of different avenues, but I was just, from your perspective, right? The two words that are so difficult to try to define in an individual is racism and then having prejudice, right? And curious of your perspective. You know, if someone like maybe me or somebody came to you and said, I really, from your point of view. And then they tell you, this is how I truly do feel and believe. I always, anyway, I don't even know how to necessarily answer it. It's just more, obviously we know that racism exists and there are racist people, but I think that there's, maybe around here and people that I know, it's more of a prejudice than racism. But then how do you recognize that in yourself? Like, how do I recognize that in myself in order to self-correct?
Yeah.
Because people want to do that. I know that at least I'm surrounded with a lot of people that want to make sure that they don't do that, right? Or they don't think certain ways, and deep down they don't believe that they're racist, but there's definitely some prejudice. And anyway, I don't know where that question was going, and maybe pick a thing or two that stand out. But it was so interesting. How do you self-correct? How do you self-recognize?
Yeah, I think you've got to be self-aware and understand. Like, I'll give you an example. I got my hair braided a few weeks ago. I went to the dentist the following Monday. I go into the dentist. The hygienist is like, "Oh my God, I love your hair. Can I touch it?" And it went in for the kill. Not okay. I wouldn't do that to you. I wouldn't say I love your hair and touch it. Yeah. So thinking about, she didn't, I know her intention in her heart was not to be offensive, but you shouldn't, that's not okay. You don't violate somebody's space. Ask yourself, would I do that to my neighbor? Who is white? So I think people just recognizing those behaviors, often I've heard, oh, your son is so articulate and well-spoken. Well, yeah, he's a smart kid. He's got 2 college degrees. Like, would you say that to you, that you're articulate and well-spoken? Probably not, because there's an expectation. But there wasn't an expectation for him to be.
Because they know that he's black, and they would imagine that he wouldn't speak that way. That's what they...
Yeah.
Yes.
So those are things, they're subtle, but those are the things that we experience. And many times, I think the younger generations are a little bit more apt to say, yeah, what do you mean by that? To call people on it. Myself, and I think perhaps my generation, we didn't really feel comfortable doing that, because it could threaten opportunity, it could threaten things. So you kind of just went along to get along, and you just kind of would eat it, but think, here we go. But I think those days are over, and I think people are saying, don't go in and touch somebody's hair. That's not appropriate. Would you want your hair touched? Or because he's black, he can speak. You all black people don't, have issues with that. But I think that's the generalization, that they're surprised for whatever reason, maybe because they haven't experienced a lot of black people, and so what they've seen on TV, what they've seen wherever, that's the conclusion they've drawn.
It's just and I imagine a lot of these people maybe are neighbors or friends, they don't have the intention of saying in any malice, right? Yeah. But it's just that it's the self-awareness. It's just like oblivious. That's tough, because how do you teach that?
Yeah, and I think a lot of people, as our world gets more diverse, like my grandchildren have a white mother, and so their family, weren't exposed to a lot of black people till they had black grandchildren. Now there's a whole different perspective, I think, when it is your grandchild, your flesh and blood, that now is experiencing that. It's one thing when you're in your family, you're doing your thing, you got your friends, whatever. Now this is this child that I love dearly that may have to deal with that. Holy cow, what do I need to do to make sure he never experiences racism in his family? Because it happens.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because they don't know. So ask the question and educate yourself. Read. Do what you need to do to understand your biases so that you can eliminate them and not have that in the background of your thinking and behavior and decisions.
Are you personality too that would like to take a leadership role in certain, I don't know, certain things within this, your company or your city or the county? I don't know. I mean, you've been outspoken, and at least you've got your thoughts out the last 6 weeks more involved. But I was just kind of curious, do you see yourself thinking like, this is the time for me to actually maybe be, you have a lot of experience. Yeah.
I'm not intentionally looking for anything in particular. I just want to help enlighten people. That's my goal. And without, again, recognizing the importance of what because I can't speak for everybody. So that's something I have to be mindful of, that I'm one person with one experience. And I can't speak for my 30-year-old daughter who has another experience, and my neighbor, or so being mindful that I don't speak for everyone, I speak for myself, and I don't want people to think that, because Connie said it, that's the way it is, because other people have different perspectives. I just want people to wake up to what we're dealing with, and, understand that it's not we do want equity, and we do want better jobs if we're qualified. But we don't want people to die because their skin is browner than somebody else's and they're viewed a threat, and because of that, they lose their life. That's just not okay. And so that's what I think, that's why this hit so hard. We've seen it. I mean, it's not like that was the first situation.
No.
There's been, but people being at home, sitting in front of their TV, watching it, and hearing him cry for his mother. Not okay. Not okay for any human being. I don't care who you are, what you did. Yeah. It's not okay. People shouldn't have to watch. His family shouldn't know people had to watch that. It's just not okay.
Not okay at all.
Not okay. So, we are where we are, and I think it's a day of reckoning, and people are waking up, and I mean, white people, brown people, yellow people. I think everybody is kind of like, what, we got to do better. We've got to do better as a human race. And for that, I'm thankful. I'm sorry that it took what it took for that to happen, but I think if we can all just remember, we are all, some of the problems you're experiencing, I'm probably experiencing, and you're probably, we're not that unalike. I think it's a Maya Angelou quote, we are more alike, my friends, than we are unalike. And I think that really is true. We have more things in common, I'm sure, than we don't,
Mm-hmm.
but we highlight the differences, and then we just do
absolutely.
wrong by that,
Yeah.
and that's what we've got to get better at. So,
We could end on those words right there,
got it.
but we're not going to.
Okay.
No, I just thank you for all that, because that was, I mean, everything that's going on sucks.
Yeah.
And your point of view is awesome and amazing. And
Thank you.
we respect it. We respect you. Thank you for your insights. We are getting on time here.
All right.
So we are going to move to our next, unless you have any other questions.
No,
Okay.
no.
So
Sorry, too many. I just
no, I
take-
think this
taking
is
over.
great. I
That's
wanted
okay.
I want to keep going. But so every podcast we end with some lighter questions.
All right.
Some
Let her
that
rip.
you may not like,
Okay.
but the rules of the game are simple. You have to answer.
Okay. Let me take a swig of my Diet
Take a
Coke.
swig,
I don't
okay.
need a bite of pizza. I
Here's
just
the
need a
first.
swig of Diet
Here's
Coke.
the first question. Would you rather take a home run swing from Barry Bonds to the middle of your back, or Tiger Woods driver? So he's teeing off and to the shin. So you got to stand.
The back. I'll take the back. The back. It's not my bone, not my shin.
Not the shin. Not going the shin. No, we're talking.
Take the back. I'm going back.
You've been the
Hey,
first person to
I'm
say
the back too.
Yeah,
I'm
on the
a
back.
I'll
We're
take it
back.
to the
Hit me in the back. Not my bone, not my
'cause
shin.
You can't see it coming. Maybe
No,
yeah.
you turn and you.
Yeah.
I got
Oh,
hit in
dude,
the
you're gonna watch
softball.
Tiger Woods take a full swing right at your shin.
Oh, no way. I got hit with a softball once in my thigh and had a bruise the size of Texas for I don't know how long. And
Okay.
it would hurt, but not horrible.
I mean, this is like number
That was
7.
That was a little
Yeah.
quick response.
This is like
That
number
was good.
7. You're the first person to
That
say
was good.
back.
Total back.
Awesome. Okay.
Yeah, we're the same.
If you could start a rumor about yourself, what would it be?
A rumor.
Yeah.
So a rumor's not true?
Just something that started that maybe it gets back like to the CEO of the company and they're like, man, I didn't know Connie was a professional bowler. I don't know. Like what's something that you would want to start to see if it could make the rounds and get back to you?
God, that's weird. I don't know. I mean, I ran against FloJo once in a track meet. You guys probably don't.
Ooh,
Maybe
I know Flo.
Like
I-
Olympic, like
Yeah. She,
Hell yeah.
So
Okay.
that's a
Dude,
real
that's
rumor, and so it
legit.
can go around. But should I tell you the rest of the story? So
Maybe,
it was a relay.
maybe the rumor is you beat FloJo.
Well,
Yeah.
okay. Beat her to her car or something,
Yeah.
maybe. So we were a relay. I was the last leg. She was the last leg. They were training for, they were just doing warm-up things. It's Weber State. We're in California. We're all excited. Oh, my God, there's FloJo. She was probably passing the finish line when I got the baton. And we were the same leg, but we got second. So,
Oh yeah. Well, that's
Okay.
it. You don't have to say how by how
yeah,
far.
exactly.
I finished
I
right
need to learn
behind
how
FloJo.
to
Finished right
I need
behind.
to learn
Finished
how
right
to
bef-
change that narrative.
That's cool.
I love it. Would you rather go a month without internet or go a month without bathing?
Internet.
Internet.
Yeah.
Quick. I
You would
love it.
rather go what?
I don't.
Internet without bathing.
Yeah, a month without internet or a month without bathing, showering.
Yeah. No, I'd live. I can. Yeah. No.
Okay.
That's good.
Would you rather only have 2 long front teeth like a beaver or no teeth at all?
2 teeth.
2 teeth.
Yeah.
She's quick, man. You're
You're
quick.
talking. These are
I'm not
huge.
going toothless.
Yeah, these are
that's
like
okay.
big, like, yeah.
But
Fine.
no.
Fine and dandy.
Okay.
Okay.
No Leon Spinks here.
All right. Would you rather have a tongue for one of your arms or all of your fingers be tongues?
Oh,
One.
that's so creepy. But I guess an arm, because I could just hang it there and leave it. Because all the
Just
fingers,
one.
you got to have
You
them.
got at least one hand.
That's
got
just
one.
weird. Yeah.
Hmm.
Okay.
Where did they come up with that?
What's a restaurant that like you just don't like?
I don't like Burger King. I've had a bad experience
Burger
the last couple
King.
of times, and
Okay.
they blew it. And every time I drive by one, I'm like, can't do it.
Okay. Would you rather be blind or live the rest of your life in a Burger King?
Oh.
You have to live there.
Well, the Burger
Yeah.
King's fries are okay, and maybe I could get a franchise
You can
that's
get away
good.
with
So
it.
I'll go with the Burger King.
Okay. Okay. Would you rather there be a ding every time you wink, like ding, or have a cartoonish gun sound go off every time you make a finger gun?
The bing. Every time I blink or
Yeah,
wink?
wink. You wink at
Oh,
somebody
give
like,
me the blink
ding.
because I don't wink that much. So,
Okay.
yeah.
You
That'd
might
be kind
do
of
it
cool
more.
though. Like
I know.
You might start doing it more. King. That
that's
is
kind
a
of cool.
total
Like little
cartoon
finger
thing.
guns. Like,
Yeah.
all right. I'm not saying that you. This is just a would you rather. So
Mm-hmm.
don't. I'm not saying you're not smart because it's
Okay.
obviously you're very
Okay.
smart. Would you rather be exceptionally smart but only be able to communicate with people under the age of 13, or be very dumb and be able to communicate with everybody?
You can't like even talk to people above 13.
Only communicate with people under
So
13.
someone like 30, you can't even talk to them.
No.
You can only talk to
Or
30.
dumb. I'd rather be smart and talk those 13-year-old. They're pretty. Those. Yeah. They're. I'll help them get smart.
You could do a lot of good.
Yeah. Yeah. You could.
Yeah,
you
that's
could.
good. Yeah.
Okay. Would you rather always have to sing instead of speaking or dance everywhere you went?
Sing. Yeah.
Sing. Okay. Would you rather have to jello wrestle almost nude in front of your whole family or wear a diaper and act like a baby in front of your whole company?
Diaper.
In front of the whole company.
Yeah.
All 1,500 employees.
And a onesie, or something.
Like a
Yeah,
diaper.
yeah.
You're in a diaper. I don't know. Yeah.
Or wrestle nude in front of your family.
Yeah.
No, I'm going for the. I gotta have some coverage.
Diaper.
Gotta have some coverage.
Okay. Would you rather everything you eat taste like boogers or only have one eye?
Oh God, that's good. I think I might have to do the eye thing.
You
Just
wear a
one
patch.
eye.
Yeah.
Okay.
Who comes up with these?
It's from his brain. Who knows?
Who
This
knows?
is
Okay,
the
all
deep,
right.
dark, the
Yeah.
deep dark
Crevices.
corners of Danny Reeder's brain.
All right. Last one. Would you rather eat a bowl of nail clippings or a bowl of hair?
Nail clippings.
Nail clippings. Nobody has
Hair
ever.
would get stuck in your
yeah.
toe. That's
hair?
disgusting.
Might
No
scratch
clue.
on the way down
How do you
though.
eat
Like
that?
I don't know.
She's gagging.
That's
dude.
gross. Yeah, that's
Sorry.
gross.
Can I
I'm
ask
sorry.
her one last one?
We try to push the boundaries
did,
just
you
a
did.
little bit.
Good job.
This
But
one-
nobody has ever answered as quickly as you. Everybody's like,
Dude, you are.
Yeah.
This
I
is
don't
rapid
know.
fire.
I love
this
it.
is good.
You got it.
Let's see if this is quick. Would you rather? I love this one. We've asked this a couple times. Would you rather have a neck like a giraffe, or 6-month-old baby hands?
The neck. I've already got a long neck, so I deal with
So
it.
you're
but
good
yeah,
deal with it.
yeah,
But we're
you
talking.
can
We're
see.
talking like 5 feet.
Giraffe.
We're talking
What's
5
happening.
feet in the air.
Giraffe.
But does everybody else have it? There's the
No,
thing.
No,
you have a
nope,
long
just you.
giraffe neck.
Yeah, I
Either
think
Or
you
you
could
have tiny.
Get in your
yeah,
Diet
that would
Coke,
be so
or
weird.
you're
Now,
just-
give me the. I want to see everything that's happening.
Oh, good. I like it, dude. Yeah, this is quick.
Yeah.
Good.
I love it. I love
good
it.
Answers.
Okay. Connie Washington, thank you. This has been
Connie,
awesome.
thank
You've
you.
been
Thank you.
amazing. We
Thank
appreciate
you.
your
You're
time,
amazing.
your
Appreciate it.
insight, and that's it. Thank
Awesome.
you.
You're
Usually
welcome.
could have been
Thanks.
a 2-hour discussion.
Yeah.
And cut.